Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. How often should you wash locks? This is a question I get a lot, and this is a topic that is very controversial in the lock community because somehow we all cannot agree on the best frequency for washing locks. There are certain people who think that locks should not be washed at all. There are very few, but they exist. You know, I've met quite a few people that think that locks do not need to be washed. Now, there are some other people who think that locks should be washed probably 3 to 4 times or 3 to 6 times in a year. Like, I've heard locticians, like, you know, licensed locticians advise their clients not to wash their locks as often. Like, they should only wash when they come for their regular retwist, when they come for their maintenance and stuff, and they normally come like for about 4 times a year. And I've heard locticians say that you don't need to wash your hair except you're coming to me to do it, right? I've also heard people say that washing locks, you should wash locks every day. There are certain people who think that locks should be washed once a week, once every 2 weeks, and you know, there are so many school of thoughts, you know, on this. Personally, I'm of the opinion that when it comes to hair care in general, whether it's for loose natural hair or locks, there is no one size fits all. I think that how often you should wash your locks depend on several factors that are peculiar to you, right? So like, there is no everybody should wash their hairs this amount of times, right? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about those factors and helping you decide, in case you are new on this lock journey and you've not figured out how often you should be washing your locks. In this video, I'm going to be helping you figure out the best frequency for washing your own locks. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. Now, before I go ahead and talk about the factors that come into play, let us establish this fact that locks need to be washed. Now, if you're of the opinion that you don't need to wash your locks at all, then I highly recommend you click off this video, because I don't agree with that. I feel like locks are hair. Just like your skin needs to be washed, your hair also needs to be washed, right? Whether it is locked or loose. So I'm not of the opinion that you don't need to wash your locks at all. I feel like I feel like that is the basics. Like, that is the basic of the basic. We all should agree that locks need to be washed. So yeah, let's establish that fact. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how soon should you wash your starter locks, because I get this question a lot and I feel like I should include that in this video. So how soon should you wash your starter locks? After you install your starter locks, how soon can you start washing your locks? Personally, I feel like you should wash your locks as soon as you want to wash your locks. Well, the misconception that most people have when they start their locks is because obviously when you wash your locks as soon as you like, when you wash your locks early on in your lock journey, you start to experience some form of unraveling, right? And that's why people advise that you should not wash your locks early on, especially if you have like looser coils that tend not to hold on to styles well. But the thing many people do not understand is that it is not the starter coil or twist or braid that you have done that locks hair. The purpose of that starter style is just to keep your hair separated in those sections, so that as your hair locks, it locks in those sections. So whether you have those coils or not, your hair is still going to lock. The purpose of those coils or those twists and all those things is just to make sure that your hair locks in those sections. So you can wash your locks as soon as you want to, because even when your starter locks are unraveling, that's not a cause for concern. Your hair is still going to lock whether those styles unravel or not, right? So what you want to do is, after you have washed your locks, right, if you notice that your locks are unraveling and they are coming completely undone, you can just like loosely kind of find a way to put it back together, right? But the fact that your hair unravels when you wash your locks, like, that is not a problem. That is part of the process because your hair is supposed to experience some form of unraveling before it can lock. I explained a lot better in one of my videos how to tackle unraveling when your lock starts to unravel. So I'll link that video up in the iCards just in case you guys are interested in seeing that. So now let's go ahead and talk about the things that you want to consider before you decide how often you should wash your locks. The first question you want to ask yourself is, do you enjoy washing your hair? Do you enjoy washing your locks, right? Because I feel like that is like the core, that's like the basic thing you want to figure out. Because I feel like when you start your locks, your journey is supposed to be enjoyable, right? taking care of your hair is supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be nice, like you're supposed to enjoy it, right? So if you're someone that doesn't really enjoy washing their hair, you want to, you know, come up with a routine that puts that into consideration, right? So if you're someone that enjoys washing your hair, you want to come up with a routine that puts that into consideration. You don't want to form a routine based on what someone else says, such that, let's say you're someone that enjoys washing your hair, then you stay away from washing your hair because someone said you should not wash your hair. Or you're someone that doesn't enjoy washing their hair, and then you start washing your hair more often than you would like to, and just because someone said that. So the core of what you should try to discover, ask yourself and be honest with yourself: do you enjoy washing your hair? If yes, then you should be washing your hair often. If you do not enjoy washing your hair, then you should not be washing your hair as often, right? The next question you want to ask yourself is, what kind of look of locks are you going for? Do you want your locks to look more like manicured and like always, you know, perfectly coiled and perfectly twisted and all that? Or do you like locks that are more like fluffy and free and, you know, more free and like more loose and all that, right? Sit down and decide which you want. Do you want something that is in the middle, right? Because the thing about washing your hair is, the more frequently you wash your hair, the shorter your retwists is going to last. Right? So if you're someone that likes to have a more like manicured look, obviously you don't want to be washing your hair as often, because the more you wash your hair, the more frizzy your hair is going to be. So if you're someone that wants the more fluffy and the more loose and like free look, obviously you want to be washing your hair more often, because the more you wash your hair, the more fluffy your hair is going to be. And generally, if you're still in the early stages of your lock journey, the faster your hair is going to lock, because the frizz and the fluff and all that generally helps to make the hair lock faster. And the next thing you want to ask yourself is, how do you feel about shrinkage? Now, when it comes to shrinkage, whether you like it or not, as long as you have locks, your hair is going to shrink, especially like in the first year of your lock journey, your hair is going to shrink, right? And even as you move along, you're still going to have a little bit of shrinkage, especially at your roots, you know, because your roots are basically loose hair, except you use a crochet needle to lock or you interlock and all that, right? But generally speaking, you have a little bit of shrinkage even when you have locks. But you want to ask yourself, how do you feel about shrinkage? Do you really hate shrinkage? Like, are you someone that cannot stand your shrinkage? Or you're someone that I don't mind it? Or you're someone that loves shrinkage? If you're someone that cannot stand shrinkage, then you want to make sure that you space out your wash routine, because yes, while your hair is wet, your hair is going to be a little bit elongated, but as soon as your hair dries, it's going to shrink up, right? So if you're someone that doesn't like shrinkage, if you're someone that hates shrinkage like with a passion, then you want to space out your washing, because the more often you wash your hair, the more shrinkage you're going to have, because your loose hair at your roots is going to shrink a lot. So bear that in mind. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, how do you feel about shrinkage? If you don't like shrinkage, wash less frequently. Now, the next question you want to ask yourself is, how much products do you use for your hair? How much products do you use for your locks? If you're someone that likes to use a lot of gels, you like to slick your edges, use your edge controls and the likes, you like to apply a lot of oils in your hair, you always like your hair to be like shiny with oils and all that, you like to use all these lock products, all these leave-in conditioners and the likes, right? You're someone that likes to use a lot of products, whether in quantity and number, like the quantity of products you use. If you're someone that likes to use a lot of products, like you're heavy-handed with your products, or you're someone that uses so many products, right? You definitely need to wash your hair more frequently than someone who doesn't use a lot of products. So sit down, ask yourself, how much products do you use? If you're someone that uses a lot of products and you don't wash your hair as often, you may risk having a lot of buildup, right? So you want to sit down and ask, how much product do I use? How much product am I going to use? Or how much products am I comfortable using? If you cannot not use a lot of products, then obviously you want to create a routine that will make you wash your hair more frequently so that you prevent buildup. Now, if you're someone that I don't mind reducing the quantity of products I use, or I don't use a lot of products to begin with, then you can actually get away with not washing your locks as often. So when it comes to this point, what you want to bear in mind is you want to wash your hair or you want to wash your locks just before your locks get greasy. because if you always wait until when your locks get really, really greasy before you wash, chances are when your locks are greasy, it tends to attract a lot of dirt, a lot of lint and the likes, right? And that can lead to product buildup. Apart from the fact that you have product buildup, because obviously your hair is greasy, you also risk having dirt buildup, right, from dust from the atmosphere and the likes, because definitely greasy hair attracts dust and, you know, dirt from the atmosphere. And you also risk having lint buildup, which is actually very difficult to get out. Right? So you want to bear this in mind. You want to wash your hair just before your hair gets really greasy. So that's going to help you figure out a routine that works for you based on how much product you use. Another question you want to ask yourself is, where do you live? Where do you work? Where do you go to? Like, what kind of environment are you constantly in, right? If you're someone that lives in a very dusty environment, or you always go, like maybe you work in a dusty environment, or where you always visit dusty environments, then obviously you want to wash your hair. You're going to need to wash your hair more frequently than someone who lives in a more like calm, like no dust in the air, clean air, you know, that kind of thing, or someone who is always indoors, right? If you're always outdoors, obviously you're most likely going to need to wash your hair more frequently than someone who is always indoors in air conditioning and all that, right? So those things are things that you need to bear in mind. If I want to advise, I would say that ideally you should be washing your hair anything from once a week to once a month. I feel like that is like a good medium that is just like really comfortable, and I feel like that's something that will most likely work for most people. Washing once a week to once a month. So you can wash once a week, every 2 weeks, once every 14 days, once every 8 days, you know, anything from once every 7 days to once every 28 days. Right? So once a week or once a month, I feel like that's a good medium for like a good spot for you to wash your locks, right? However, the closer you are to washing your hair once a week, the more you can get away with almost anything, right? So if you are someone that washes her hair every week, you can get away with almost using any kind of products that you want, right? You can get away with using a lot of products to an extent, you know, if you wash your hair every week. Because the thing about washing your hair every week is before your hair gets to that point where you're having build-up, you've already washed out whatever it is that you have put in it, right? So I feel like if you wash your hair once a week, you can get away with almost anything. Now, the further you move away from washing your hair once a week, the more careful you need to be, right? Now, I'm not saying that you cannot like wash your hair maybe once every two months, right? I don't really recommend that, because I feel like as long as you're always going out and you're always using things in your hair, I feel like when you go beyond washing once a week, you risk having dull looking locks. You risk having build-up of product and the likes, except you don't use product at all in your hair, right? So that's just my own personal opinion. I feel like you can wash your hair less frequently than once a month, but that's not something I recommend. However, there are tips I can give you that will help you maximize your routine, even if you do not wash your hair, even if you wash your hair less frequently than washing once a month. So if you're washing your hair anything from once every 3 weeks and beyond, right, these tips that I'm going to share now will definitely help to make your locks look healthy and shiny and not so dull and like vibrant and likes, even though you're not washing your hair as often. So the things you want to bear in mind is, number one, you want to reduce the quantity of products that you're using in your hair, because you're not washing your hair as often, right? So you want to make sure, like, you want to try as much as you can to prevent product buildup 100%. And I feel like I don't know how many of you guys watch Yani the locologist, right? If you watch her videos, then you know that she's one of those people that advise that you really don't need to be washing your locks that often. I've watched several of her videos, and she recommends that you really don't need to be washing locks that often. Now, when people hear her say that, they go and be like, oh no, that's disgusting, that's gross, you know, how can you not be washing your locks and all? But people forget to realize that she also advises people not to use a lot of products. She, like, if you watch her videos constantly, you notice that she doesn't use a lot of products, and she doesn't really advise people to use a lot of products. So if you're not using that much products in your locks, then you can get away with not washing your locks frequently. Now, if you're someone that you're always using products every day, you're putting oils in your hair, no matter how little. If you're always putting oils in your hair every day, always putting a leave-in conditioner or like something other than water in your hair every single day, the chances are that thing that you're putting most likely accumulates over time. So you cannot really get away with washing your hair, like not washing your hair often, if you're always using products in your hair. So the number one tip I'll give you is reduce how often you put products in your hair, and even when you put products in your hair, reduce the quantity of products that you use. Now, another thing that I would advise if you don't wash your hair often, that will help you to maximize your routine of not washing your hair often, is cover as much as you can. Try to cover your hair whenever you go out, and try to cover your hair with something light, like not something really heavy. Like some people use very heavy satin, like bonnets and stuff when they go out, that so many layers of bonnet. That's not what I'm saying. What you're doing, what I recommend is you want to cover your hair when you go out, because just to reduce how much dust and particles and likes accumulate on your hair. You're not covering your hair to prevent air from getting in because your hair needs air, and I'm going to talk about that very soon. But you're covering your hair to prevent dust. So anything light, if you have like a scarf that is like, you know, chiffon or like light, you know, those kind of like light material scarf that are like see-through scarves and the likes, yeah, those are the things that you can use. Or like things that are not so thick, right? Things that, yes, it's going to be covering your hair from dust and the likes, right? But air can still get into your hair. Like, it's not like it's going to keep your hair so locked up in a way that if you go out with your hair wet, your hair is not going to get dry because it is covered, right? So you want to cover your hair as much as you can when you go out, but you want to make sure that whatever you're using to cover your hair is light, because you still want air to get into your hair. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is making sure that you air your hair or you air your locks regularly. So despite the fact that I recommend that whenever you go out, especially when you're going to be in dusty environments, you want to try as much as you can to cover your hair or to cover your locks. You also want to make sure that you air your locks, right? So when you get in the house, obviously I'm assuming that inside your house is not going to be as dusty and all that, right? So every day, if you're someone that always goes out and you always cover your hair when you go out because the environment is dusty, when you get home, try to like release your hair and allow air to get into your hair. Because the thing about if you're not washing your hair often, you sweat, whether we like it or not. We sweat, you know, on our scalp and things like that. And the thing about that is, because you're not washing your hair often, the sweat tends to accumulate on your hair and on your scalp, right? So if you always, on top of that, you always keep your hair wrapped up or keep your hair covered and you don't allow air to like get into your hair, over time, because you're not washing your hair often, your hair may start to smell funky and kind of weird, right? So that's why I recommend that as much as you can, you want to air your hair. And that's why even in my previous point, when I say you should cover your hair, I recommend that you cover your hair with something light. That, yes, that's going to be preventing dust from getting into your hair, but it will also allow air to get in because it is very light. And when you get home, take down your hair from whatever style you have put it in. Take down your hair from your bun or whatever and let air get in. If you have like a fan, like I highly recommend. If you don't have a fan, like at least like a standing fan in your house, I highly recommend that you get one, right? So when you get home, even if it's just like for 30 minutes, you can just put your head near a fan or something and just like let the air, you know, move around your hair. That will help your hair to smell fresh and to smell clean and like nice, even though you're not washing your hair often. So that's the tip I highly recommend. You don't want everybody to know that you're not washing your hair often, right? If you're not washing your hair often, you don't want everyone that comes near you to smell something funky. So you want to be ahead of your game, and air is very important. Don't always put your hair in a bun, in a puff, like always tied up, wrapped in a scarf. From time to time, let your hair down and let air, you know, move around. Now, another thing you want to do if you don't wash your hair often to maximize your routine is you want to try as much as you can to reduce how much you use like perfumed products. Those products that have like really strong smell, right? Yeah, you want to reduce how often you use them. If you can, try to stick with products that have very mild smell or products that are unscented altogether. Because the thing is, when your products have no smell and you don't wash your hair as often, it just smells nicer. Because when you put perfume products on your hair, and those products remain on your hair for a very long time, after a while the smell of the perfume kind of gets stale, and then it kind of mixes up with like your sweat and all, and then starts to smell funky. And that's a mistake so many people make, because they feel like, oh, because I'm not washing my hair, I want my hair to smell fresh and I want my hair to smell nice, so they go ahead and layer products upon products with strong smell in their hair and in their locks. Over time, those products will actually be the reason why your hair or your locks smell funky. So if you are someone that doesn't wash their hair as often, you want to stick with unscented products or products that have very, very mild smell. That will generally help your hair smell fresh for a longer period of time than using products that have very strong smell. Another thing that will help you to maximize your routine if you don't wash your hair frequently is, whenever you finally wash your hair, don't rush it. Don't rush it. You should not be washing your hair like someone who washes their hair once a week. When you finally wash your hair, maybe once every 3 months. When you finally wash your hair, take your time, go in there, you know, scrub where needs to be scrubbed, massage where needs to be massaged, and thoroughly rinse out the shampoo that you have used to wash your hair. If you can, do your thorough detox, right? Because whether you like it or not, even when you follow all these tips I've said, even when you don't use products, a lot of products in your hair, even if you don't sweat as much and all that, your scalp, like our scalp generally shed, like apart from shed hairs and all that, you have like dead cells. Sometimes your scalp may get flaky and the likes, and all that like gunk, and you know, sometimes your scalp also produces oils. All that gunk and all that gets accumulated on your hair over time. So when you finally wash your hair, if you just go ahead and rush through it, after some time your hair is going to start to look dull and weird, because even though you finally wash your hair, you're not doing a good job. So whenever you finally wash your hair, take your time, get in there, wash it properly, so that even if you are doing it once every 4 months, you know that once every 4 months you are doing a fantastic job, right? You don't want to rush the process. This is a tip that I highly recommend. If you're someone that doesn't wash their hair as often, try as much as you can to wash it. If you cannot do it yourself, go to a professional, go to a licensed loctician to get your hair detoxed and get your hair washed, so that you have a fresh start, and then you can start all over again to wait for another 4 months or 6 months before you wash your hair. And you know that you have gotten rid of all the dirt and like all the build-up and all the gunk that have accumulated in your locks for, you know, for a while. That's all I have to share with you guys today. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time on my channel and you'd like to see more videos from me, then definitely subscribe. I make videos about locks all the time, and I'm sure that this is not going to be the last time you're going to hear something that you find helpful on my channel. So go ahead and subscribe. If you have not seen my last video where I shared my 1-year lock updates, where I shared my 1-year lock journey in pictures, then go ahead, click the video and watch it right now over here. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.